All right, let's do this thing. Cool, so today we're working on a dual wielder, which no one class in particular really supports too well, and it's kind of annoying. This was one of the first builds that I did when I was starting to play D&D, and it's been optimized since then, just for your viewing pleasure. So let's take a look. As far as abilities go, there's really only one choice. If you want to be an anime protagonist while playing D&D, you need to max out your dexterity. The rest of the scores don't really matter too much. I prefer not to dump Constitution because I enjoy not dying. There's really only two reasons to choose any specific race in D&D, and that's either that the ability score improvements that you get line up really well with their class, or you choose Variant Human for that sweet, sweet feat at level 1. What we did here is chose the Dual Wielder feat, because this is a dual wielding build. Duh. You get +1 AC when you're wielding 2 weapons, you don't have to use light weapons, and you can draw or stow 2 weapons at once instead of 1 when using your free object interaction on your turn. Starting off pretty well. Plus you get those 2 ASIs of your choice. I put it into Dexterity, obviously, and Constitution, because who likes dying? Your background really matters very little with this build, as long as you choose something that gives you at least 1 Dexterity-based ability. I personally love the Urchin background, but I do it with way too many of my characters, so I went ahead and chose the Criminal background, just to push myself. So we chose Deception and Stealth as our proficiencies, and it doesn't hurt to have a couple of criminal contacts when you are searching around your city for the next plot point in your DM's campaign. So as far as classes go, we're going to do what's called a 3-level dip. And that is not one involving beans and cheese, but one involving rogues and fighters. At level 1, fighters get proficiency in everything. You get armor, you get weapons, you get skills of your choice, and you get a fighting style at level 1. For this one, we are going to go ahead and choose 2-weapon fighting. When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. So typically when you take your bonus action with 2-weapon fighting, you don't get the extra damage. But with this fighting style, we are going to even that out a little bit. Because we are skilled with fighting with swords in both hands, we are going to be able to do just as much damage no matter which weapon we're attacking with. Action Surge and Second Wind are always great abilities to have, but they're not where this build shines. So what we're going to look at specifically is our martial archetype. By choosing the Battle Master, we get 3 maneuvers that we get to use multiple times a day. The most important thing here is the Riposte maneuver. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction and expend 1 superiority die to make a melee weapon attack against the creature. And if you hit, you add the superiority die to the attack's damage roll. Now this is where things start to get interesting, because the next 17 levels, all the way to level 20, we're going to multi-class into Rogue, which is another reason why your dexterity needs to be at least above 13. As a first level Rogue, you get Sneak Attack. Once per turn, you can deal extra damage to one creature you hit if you have advantage on the attack roll, but you don't need advantage if you have a friend within 5 feet of your enemy and that enemy isn't incapacitated and you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. And of course that damage goes higher and higher as you gain levels in this class. Fortunately, the Sneak Attack ability does not specify that it has to be once per round that you can use it, or once on your turn, but once per turn, meaning any player's turn. Going back to our Fighter's Riposte maneuver, we can use a reaction when a creature misses us to attack them using our reaction. So we get to act outside of our turn, thus allowing us to do 2 sneak attacks in a round. At level 3, we're going to take the Scout subclass, which is an interesting choice because some of the other Rogue subclasses just seem to be better. But the Scout subclass has a very specific ability that will come into play at high levels that will give us that 3rd sneak attack. Jumping to level 4, we finally get our first ability score improvement. Now, we aren't super ASI heavy on this build, because we really only need to max out the one ability score, which is dexterity. So I went ahead and took the defensive duelist feat. When you're wielding a finesse weapon with which you are proficient, and another creature hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC for that attack, potentially causing it to miss you. This works super well with the fighter's riposte maneuver, because if you are missed with an attack, then you can riposte and get your other sneak attack. But if you are hit with an attack, you can add your proficiency bonus to your AC, causing the attack to potentially miss you. So whether you get hit or whether you miss, you get to do something on your opponent's turn. Guaranteed, you get to use your reaction every single turn if someone is attacking you. The rogue has a ton of great features, but for the sake of keeping this video short, we're going to skip down to our next ability score improvement, which I went ahead and took the mobile feat just because it's pretty great across the board. Your speed increases by 10 feet. You get to ignore difficult terrain when you're dashing. And when you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke any opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit them or not. If you're fighting someone that has the Sentinel feat, they get to ignore your disengage action. So, might as well just skip the disengage action altogether. At Rogue 10, we're going to take the most broken feat in the entire game. If your DM lets you take it, please do. We're taking the Lucky feat. You have 3 luck points that you can use as a free action on your turn. You can spend a luck point and completely re-roll any nat 1s that you get. Save them for your nat 1s. I've gone whole sessions without any nat 1s just because of the Lucky feat. This is going to ensure that you don't roll any critical fails while you're up and close with your enemies, trying to attack and get away and use those sneak attacks. At Rogue 12 and 16, we get our last 2 ability score improvements, which is finally when I started incorporating more dexterity into this build. So, assuming that you start off with a 15 in dexterity at a +1 from your variant human, now you use 2 ASIs to get that up to a nice round 20, and you are going to be set for the rest of your campaign. Finally, at Rogue 17, level 20, we are now Fighter 3, Rogue 17, we get the Sudden Strike feature. At 17th level, you can strike with deadly speed. If you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 additional attack as a bonus action, which we could do anyway, but this attack can benefit from your sneak attack even if you have already used it this turn. You just can't use it against the same target more than once per turn. Let's say that you and your buddy are fighting some guy and his buddy. You walk up and you stab them and you get your sneak attack damage and they are hurting very bad. Now you turn and swing, and with your bonus action, thanks to the scout feature Sudden Strike, you are now able to take your other hand, stab over at the other guy with your bonus action, which you can also apply your sneak attack to. Your buddy goes, let's say your buddy takes out one guy, and finally the other enemy that you are facing finally gets to take its turn, and he's looking really bloody, super beat up, but with his dying breaths he goes to attack you and he misses. And that sucks for him because then you get to take the riposte maneuver using your reaction to make an attack against him, which you get to apply your sneak attack damage to once again. At this point, you can deal 9d6 damage with your sneak attack 3 times per round. And let's say that you mess up on all 3 of your rolls. Well, you can actually use all 3 of your luck points at the same time, because it is not limited to once per turn. Only when you take the attack action you can use 1 of your luck points, giving you a much higher chance of hitting your opponents. So I will leave the D&D Beyond link in the description below so you can check out this build. This has been my attempt at creating a Dual Wielder in D&D 5th edition. Thanks for watching.